We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order at 1:07 PM. Madam Clerk, will you read the roll, or do I need to read the roll, or is everybody present? Everybody is present. All right, we can move into the approval of minutes. The July 15th minutes are here in your packet.
So moved.
All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye. Any opposed? All right, we can move straight into committee discussion. The first is Animal Services Update Enforcement Staffing. Mr. Robert Anderson, Director of Public Works.
Thank you, committee members, for having us today. I know we got several items on the agenda. I'm going to get right into the staffing for animal services. It's a brief report. Victoria was actually on vacation last week, so she's actually catching up this week. So we thought we would go ahead and present this report, and if there's something else we need to print, we'll bring it, or follow up with, we'll bring it back to you. But our current enforcement staff consists of 5 positions. Up until recently, we still have a 1 officer supervisor vacant. We do not have any applications that are worthy right now of a promotion or anybody that has applied for the job. And we have 4 officers filled. I know we had a recent neighborhood meeting where we had a couple officers there. Those officers were fairly new. They were in training. They are now back in training. We were having trouble hiring individuals at one time, but now we've worked with our HR department. We've brought our starting salaries up in a little closer line with Richland and Lexington County. So we're starting to get applicants in again, and we're starting to get our staff built back up. So we currently have the 4 officers filled. So we only have 1 vacancy. The other vacancy we have is a part-time kennel, or part-time veterinarian, which has been posted for quite some time. Veterinarians shortages are still real, but we are going to continue to work on that. We had an interested party about 2 months ago that finally turned us down. They wanted a little more time, and they were getting ready to have a child, so they wanted some time off also. We have 1 recent kennel supervisor that's open, but we're not seeing that. The 2 things I want to call that Victoria has really done good at recently, and what they've turned around, is the new webpage design. I actually went through it the other day, so if you go to City of Columbia and go to the Animal Services website, the new website is very clean, it's very detailed, something the staff is really taking pride in. So that is definitely worth looking at. Our live release rates still sit around 82%. That's an excellent number for us. I know the statewide is got a little higher than that, but Victoria and her staff have a goal to increase that every year. So their goal next year is to increase that up to about 84 or 5%. And like I said, that's kind of the staffing report. If you want a comprehensive update from Victoria, Clint and I've discussed this. I think she'll be more than happy to come during our October meeting if that's what you're looking for. The one thing that I changed the slide presentation, Erica and her group quickly changed it, and it's not there. There is a new presentation. I think you have it in your packets, I hope. And that is, if anybody got the state's best, we got the state's best. So we have the state's best veterinarian, which is Dr. Bonovich. So that is a milestone that Victoria swore us to secrecy about 2 months ago. Am I right, Justin? Or so. But I think that is great for our animal shelter, great for the overall satisfaction of employees. I know they're having a little cookout to celebrate this later this week, but I think this is just really important that our animal shelter gets some notoriety for things that they're doing in a positive manner. So that is a good thing for us. So that's kind of your animal services report, the vacancy report. We'll be more than happy to have Victoria do a comprehensive update, like I said, in October.
The website looks great. Very much easier to navigate than
Very
before.
much.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad Dr. Bonovich is getting some recognition. She is. We are so lucky to have her. We looked for a veterinarian, how long was it before we found her?
3 years, 2
I mean,
years.
we were using fill-ins, and we're just blessed to have her. She's fantastic.
So she's doing a great job for us.
Good.
And so is Victoria and her staff.
Yeah, I was able to see them at the peanut boil. And despite the rain, it was quite a success in terms of turnout. And then Dr. Bonovich was there with her other service job where she helps people that are homeless with their dogs and getting them fixed and getting preventive services and stuff. So
She
it's
lives,
great to see
she
that.
lives and dreams it.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Any questions for Robert about animal services?
Not for me.
Do y'all want a comprehensive update in October?
Sounds great.
That sounds good. All right, I think you're basically the agenda, Robert.
Yeah, well, I have to click gets up here in a few
Many
minutes.
things to report on. We will move right in to something I have been waiting for 4 years
I hear you.
to finish. And I hope that today we can announce that we are close to the finish line and our press conference date for our gateway signage.
So we'll talk a little bit about gateway signage. So this is the proposed gateway signage that will be going in. This is actually one of the smaller ones. We do have some dates, and I'm going to share them in a moment, but I want to go through a couple other signs with you. So we know we've got a bigger sign. We've got 3 bigger signs going out. We've got one smaller sign. This sign here will be installed at North Main there at the Pepsi plant. So we have 2 other signs. One of them is Justin's fault, by the way. That's Justin right over there. I just want to be there. So this sign here is the tertiary sign. Learning how to say that, okay? So this is the tertiary sign. It's been in my office for quite some time. So it will be the one that goes out on that. So we do have it ready to produce anytime. So Justin, in his nice wisdom one day, was apparently walking down Main Street. He should have been in his office. He didn't have anything to do, okay? And he happened to look up, and Sarah will tell you to never look up, okay? So, but he happened to look up, and he said, oh, there's some old signs on Main Street. So he has come up with the signs that go on the light poles.
Oh, I love. Well done,
So
Justin.
right now, they're actually just a city seal on them. So Justin, you didn't know this was gonna happen today. So we actually have the new blanks in for the 10s. So they are actually printing 120 of these. They still have to do that, mount them. These will take a while to put up, but these will actually go on the light poles down Main Street. So this will be part of that branding process that we've been working on for quite some time. So with that said, so that's will be the sign, what it looks like illuminated. The one at Main Street will not be illuminated. So what we have is we finally have some dates. After pushing the company as hard as we could possibly push, they have agreed to get the secondary sign installed at North Main and I-20. Right now, we're currently set for October 30th.
We are set. There's no currently, like on October 30th, we will be unveiling the
Maybe a day or
sign.
2 before, so I've got to confirm with the company, so, but she said maybe a day or 2 before, but she said, don't put that out there, so I just need to confirm a hard date with her. She said by October 30th, so we will actually look at that. I know we want to have the press conference out there. I know we've talked a little bit, Clint and I talked about how to block the road off a while ago and get out there. I've got to figure out how to put something over the top of it to truly unveil it, I think, that day. I think that will be a point, but if we can do a Don Saylor statue unveiling, we can do just about any unveiling.
That is true, that is true.
But then the main signs at Bull Street, Harbison, and I-126, we've actually worked a little bit at the Harbison Boulevard. DOT gave us permission to cut 2 trees down the other day. So we've already taken the trees down. They are to be installed, foundations on November 12th and 14th. The sign installations should be the 17th and 19th. Of course, those dates later on will be weather dependent and, you know, some of the other stuff. But I'm as excited as you are to get this off my plate a little bit and move on to a different project. So that's the installation dates. I think Clint may have mentioned that we may want to do a press release sometime soon. Justin, if we can work on that together?
We'll work on that. I think, Robert, I know that we may have the sign on North Main by the 28th, maybe finished installed 29th, possibly. But I think press conference on the 30th, we just set that as the date. We'll coordinate with Pepsi about parking. We'll talk with, DOT if we need to block off the lanes and that sort of thing. So it should be nice, cooler weather. Hopefully it won't be raining. And is there a preference on time of day?
I think whenever you think that it would get the most splash.
Say in the morning sometime, 10 a.m.
10
Yeah.
10
What
a.m.
day of the week is it, 30?
It's a Thursday, the day before my birthday.
Okay.
What a nice
Oh, that's
birthday
right.
present.
Can do it on.
Yeah.
If we need to.
Can't do Halloween.
That's right.
Can we bring those too? I think those will be great to show
Yeah. I think
as
so.
an example of, and then also, just talk about some of the sign audits and things that we've done to clean up our looking up and seeing things. So,
I got you.
yeah.
So
And that was built in our sign shop?
this was built in our sign shop. So once Justin actually found this sign here, we actually had to go get the blanks recut for the signs because the other signs were painted blue and then had the seal over them. So then the circles are coming out of our sign shop. Yes.
Where
they're
on the
light pole.
I never knew it either, okay?
Well, I
So
remember, it just has our seal.
it just has our seal on all the short light poles that's right in the,
In front of
crook of the pole.
1400 Main.
So it'll hang under, below,
They hang kind of in the crook of the light right now. They actually set in there. They're
Okay.
already bolted on. So all we're gonna have to do is actually bolt these panels. We'll unbolt the old ones and bolt the new panels in.
alright.
Got it.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Judge. I think it's a great idea. Awesome.
You'll stay in your office from now on. We won't have this problem.
We'll start working up a run of shows for a press conference and that sort of thing.
Did you eat lunch after
Awesome.
you seen that? Seen that old boy?
That'll also match the, Hope sign.
After lunch? Oh. No, I'm just kidding.
It's all good. I think it'll make Main Street, it'll pop a little bit when we get them up, so. So that is the Welcome to Columbia.
And how quickly will the ones that are lit be able to work? Like, once it's installed, they light up, or is there like a period?
So we should be able to light them almost immediately. I mean, we'll have, our electricians will hook them up, so I think we've got to take the box to the light. So we'll get with Jim and that'll be a Jim issue. So, but we can make that work fairly quickly.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
We control that directly.
Then we control the lighting, we control the electricity side.
Even if there's no event, I still wanna be there when we light I just wanna
Gotcha.
stand there and see it light up.
Well, our council will be totally amazed and very appreciative of the look with the posts and with the signage. I think that's great.
I think so too. It's a good step for Columbia.
We've been trying to do it a long time,
Yes, we have, yep.
and this council will certainly approve that. Thank you.
Thank you. We still have some other signs, hopefully after this one's installed. We'll find some other locations.
So alongside that, we are good in terms of a plan for maintenance. And then I know the next agenda item, this kind of flows into it, is how this is aligning. And I know early in the process, we talked about working with MBOG and some of their gateway beautification work that they had been doing. I'm not up to speed on where they are, but I know that there's been some work underway. So would love to hear a little bit about that, and then what you are expecting in terms of maintenance of some of these signs.
So the maintenance of the signs, actually, the way they're made should be fairly light. You know, the one thing we are gonna do is Brian's gonna come around, it'll be after the fact. We're gonna put some kind of edging around them. We're gonna use rubber mulch, kind of like we've got in 5 Points. So we'll probably use a material fabric on the bottom, so that way weeds and stuff won't grow up around the sign. And then behind the sign, like at Bull Street, and maybe the other two signs will have some vegetation to kind of block the back of the sign off a little bit. But the front of the sign will be very clean. It shouldn't take a lot of maintenance. The lights are LED, they should last a long time. So, hopefully, there's no brick to wash or anything else, so we'll just maintain it that way. I don't think there'll be a lot of maintenance to it. So, Brian's group will do the beautification side of the other stuff.
But making sure that looks really good and stays looking really good, we understand how important that is. And so that'll be a big part of our beautification efforts. I mean, we've waited a long time to get these, and we'll make sure they continue looking good and representing our city very
And I
well.
think I'll say thanks to the city manager who stepped out again, but a council altogether about the beautification money you've given us. We've, really taken and Brian and his staff with Sarah's leadership and some others have really taken steps to make sure that our city looks good in certain places by having contractors mow. Bull Street, taking some of the old silver maple trees, maple, whatever kind of maples there were, taking them out and putting some grass. I rode down it the other day. It has such a clean look. We got a comment from Dana Elliott the other day of how good Gervais Street looks. So I'm like, wow, okay. So, but their group is doing such a good job of getting around and, listening to complaints from myself or Sarah or whatever, as I get around quite a bit. Like, there's a weed here, but they're doing a lot better, and I think this will continue these trends. You want to talk about MBLG?
Sure.
So the MBLG is the Midlands Business Leadership Group. Started back under Mayor Benjamin, I believe. And the discussion started around 2019 over in Lexington. This group was put together to enhance the beautification of several entrances to Columbia and the gateways and the corridors. So played a big part with Joe Murgo over in Lexington, myself, and some others about picking the 8 sites. So when they picked the 8 sites, what the MBLG did is they then narrowed the sites down and says, okay, which ones do we want to do first? How do we want to fund this, and how do we want funding to occur? So the funding of the 8 sites was to come from private donations. With that said, Lexington County elected to put $500,000 into the original donation for the number 1 gateway. A lot of this was discussed after the March Madness that was held, the men's basketball tournament several years ago, about what does 302 look like. And 302 coming into town, if you ever go out there, I'll be taking my wife out there this week, doesn't look the greatest in the interstate end. And the group said, hey, we've got to make this change because we want Columbia to be a gateway. How would this work? So the NBLG, drove around that, and then they talked about the next group that was the biggest, and that was going to be the Forest Drive at I-77 there at the entrance to Fort Jackson. So that is the number 1 and number 2 intersections that is going on. So the MBLG, somewhere along the line, passed this over to the COG, and the COG said, okay, we're going to drive this train from here on out. So we worked on a design several times. Well, they worked on a design that was, of course, not into procurement rights. So what we did is went back. And we went back to whose project it was, and that's how the project would be designed. So the first project actually sets in the city of Casey and sets in Lexington County. So the city of Casey decided to take the lead on the drawings with input from all of the MBLG partners, which includes City of Columbia, West Columbia, Casey, Lexington County, Richland County. Forest Acres was somewhere in some of the negotiations. So what we did is we've all looked at these drawings. We pared them back a little bit because some of them were too maintenance driven and said, hey, this is going to be what 302 looks like. From there, City of Casey has picked up the ball and they bid the project out the other day. So, which has recently made the news. I think the bid was a little over $600,000. We have a meeting coming up with the COG in next month sometime, like the 10th of October, to discuss this. So the project is moving forward. So MBLG actually received enough money to do the project, and maybe projects. We're not sure yet. I heard at one time they'd received $1.2 million in private funding. Of course, 500,000 of that would have been from Lexington County. So this may get this project up and running, and hopefully afterwards we might get Forest Drive up and running at the same time. What became the issue was how we were going to fund the maintenance of the project. So the maintenance of the project, when it was discussed, and this goes back to the MBLG before the COG, was that we would take a pro rata share of population based on maintenance cost and split the cost that way. So of course, Richland County, Lexington County, City of Columbia is going to pay more of the cost than the City of Casey and West Columbia, but everybody would have skin in the game to pay for the maintenance of this, so it continues to look good throughout that. So that was actually brought to council several years ago, and it was approved that we would do it that way. One of the things we're going to talk to on the 10th is we've been quite a while since we've had these discussions. One of my concerns is I want to make sure who the partners are still. I want to make sure all the partners are still in play. And if not, we may come back and talk to council a little bit about, you might want to get our partners over in West Columbia, Casey, wherever it may be, to play a little bit nicer so we can have this beautification money and have the maintenance money to keep these projects up. So the other projects, which is Lexington, I-20, Harbison Boulevard, 26 downtown, 26 and Richland County, Lexington, the 77 and the 77 project, these are not funded. They are way down the list, but the 2 at the top are funded. During our last meeting, the group decided that we wanted to do the 302 project. Let's see how it gets off the ground before we wade into the Forest Drive project and make sure we get this under and know exactly what we do. But if we do the Forest Drive I-77 project, the City of Columbia will take the lead on procurement, not Casey. So that's kind of the MBLG in a nutshell and where we are. So it's been a bit longer coming than the signs, but it looks like it is starting to come around also.
Is the meeting with the COG, is that just with the executive director and staff, or is that before the whole body or a committee?
So it would be with Gregory Sprouse and the whole committee to include the cities that are participants.
Is that transportation subcommittee? Do you know?
I don't know that it's a subcommittee.
Okay.
I don't really know, Sarah, do you? I mean, I don't think so. I think it's just Gregory Sprouse.
Stop.
Somehow the NBLG got it down to the cog. I don't know how that happened.
They wanted the COG to administer the funding.
Right.
And that fell under Gregory's, instead of Reginald Simmons, that fell under Gregory.
Okay.
With the COG. And so I think it's really Gregory, NBLG members, and then the entities that are funding.
Got it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
the early meetings were mayors and city council members.
County
That I
council.
think Councilwoman Devine, maybe back then Councilman Rickerman was there. So,
It's been a while.
so this will also be a great project that once it's done, the 302 project will really look good. And that is only to the interstate. We talked about doing the bridge area itself coming over 26, but DOT has somewhere in their works to replace that bridge. So they really did not want to do the bridge beautification at this time.
Are there any overlaps in these locations in our signage? The Harbison
The
one?
Harbison would be the only one. So that's MBLG in a nutshell. So what we'll be doing next is taking, and I think our pro rata share will be somewhere if the maintenance, until it depends on the early maintenance estimates, we're gonna be $12,000 or $13,000 a year. It wasn't as much as we thought it was gonna be.
That's not bad.
No, it wasn't bad at all.
You say 12 to 13,000?
And that would be just for the 302. Of course, it would go up with every project we had. But this seemed to be a regional approach, and everybody was well on board.
Okay, brother.
Any other questions for Robert? Thank you, Robert.
Oh, I do have to point out one thing. Oh.
Yeah.
Huh?
Just go back. Go back. No, Rob worked real hard on these things.
Oh, I just,
He's a slide master, isn't he, Sarah?
Okay.
okay.
Press the power button to me.
Me press power button? No, you. I can probably tell you. On page
I want to see it.
2 of your slides happens to be my wife's dog, okay, the little princess sitting in the recliner, and the dog that has her peanut M&Ms in her mouth, okay?
You
Did
said
I see the
your
bag of
wife's
peanut
dog?
in the dog's mouth?
It's your wife's dog.
That's my wife's dog, okay? 'Cause my
Not
dog would
y'all's
be,
dog.
my dog would be better than that.
Okay.
So, yeah, she has a bag of peanut M&Ms in her
There's
mouth.
a difference.
I just had to point that out.
Difference.
I just know my wife's dog is my dog.
When they do wrong, you don't, whoop.
That's cute.
With the peanuts.
There it is, in the peanut M&Ms, the bag of M&Ms. That's my wife's dog, so. Ginger, that's right, so, but I just had to point that out, thank you.
Thank you.
Like the ponytail of the other dogs. So cute.
That's her too.
All right, I think our last agenda item is canal recovery, resilient water supply project updates. Mr. Clint Shealy.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Bustles. Good afternoon. So it takes 4 years to get a Welcome to Columbia sign. It takes longer than that to get an MBLG beautification. And it takes at least 10 years to repair a canal, more than that. So I wanted to give you all an update. Justin and I have been fielding media requests left and right because the 10-year anniversary of the historic flooding. Hurricane Joaquin is coming up. And so anyway, we're trying to push out as much information as we can about where we stand and the project that we have that is under construction, which is the resilient water supply. I wanted to first give you a briefing of just kind of where we stand in general. There are 3 projects that are critical to us recovering and being better and more resilient than we were in 2015. The first one is replacing our head gates, mechanical driven head gates. That project is moving to procurement right now. We should be opening bids this year and assigning, that should be coming before council, hopefully in in December for award. That was funded to the tune about $5.5 million through a mitigation grant through Housing and Urban Development. We're funding the rest of it with ratepayers' dollars through our capital improvement program. We think that's about a $12 million investment. Critical to that moving forward was what happened last Wednesday. We received our FERC license amendment approval. So that was the last federal government hurdle that we had to get through before we could rebuild the embankment and replace the head gates. So that was the piece of the puzzle that was remaining through this entire process that we've been through. So we're delighted that's happened. We're pushing that forward. That'll be the next item that you see coming before you for approval. And again, should be this year. Shortly following that, I think yesterday we received the 90% design review comments from FERC on the embankment repair of the breach. So that will follow shortly as soon as we get their final review comments. But that's not that's a much more informal review and approval. And that's been going fairly smoothly. So we're really excited about that as well. We anticipate the embankment repair, which is filling the breach, repairing the hydroelectric generating station, and repairing the scour that happened all up and down the toe of the embankment. That is a $60 to $80 million investment, completely funded by FEMA through the Public Assistance Program and also State of South Carolina matching dollars. So no ratepayer dollars to fund that investment. So really hoping that gets bid this year as well. And so early 26, we're moving into construction there. And then you see my three-legged stool. I talk about a three-legged stool of resilience. We're not strong unless each of those legs is strong. So if we rebuilt the canal, repaired the embankment, got the hydroelectric generating station operating, and we repaired the head gates, replaced those older mechanical systems, we'd be in a slightly better position than we were in 2015. And that's simply not acceptable because what happened in 2015 could happen again. It was characterized as a 1,000-year rain event. We don't want to take a chance on that happening again and being subject to damage once more. So we've got to do everything possible to make sure that doesn't happen. And that's where our resilient water supply project comes in to make us more resilient and in better position than we were. It also decreases our reliance on an 1890s vintage earthen embankment that was not designed for today's standards, like flooding, like seismic earthquake activities, those types of things. So this project is a significant part of our overall recovery. That independent water supply and that investment will last us for generations to come. We will never be sorry we did this. This is an investment that we can't defer any longer. We just got to move forward, and we are moving forward. Thank you for helping us move forward. We started construction in January. Y'all approved a $62 million construction contract back in December of 24. The contractor is making really good progress. There's a typo there. It says early 28. That's when most all of the work should be wrapping up. This project should be around the spring, late spring. It should be moving towards significant completion of 2027. Again, half funded roughly by a BRIC grant. We still have not received those BRIC funds. So we've been sitting in our pay applications and hoping that we're going to get that reimbursement, but we haven't seen the dollars yet. So that is still some uncertainty that's there. We meet the litmus test of we've started construction. We were obligated before the program was vaporized by the current administration. So we believe we're fine. The Region 4 cannot tell us anything. They don't know the answer. We're trying to get answers out of headquarters. So the real answer we want to get is a reimbursement check. That's really, and we'll know that we're there. So still pushing on that. This project is impacting Riverfront Park. Y'all know we pushed that out. We've got a section of the park closed down. As we move to these other two projects, the Headgate project is going to require closure of the northern entrance because we're replacing those mechanical gates. We're also going to make the access way across the top of the Headgate structure 2 feet wider. so we can get maintenance vehicles across and better access. Parks and Rec staff can better access the embankment. We can better access the embankment from a utility standpoint, should we need to get machinery out there and make a repair to a minor breach or a sloughing event. So there are impacts there from the Headgates project. Whenever the embankment recovery begins, and I should say that's already started. There was some work that FEMA and FERC allowed us to do with Dominion to consolidate high-power transmission mains down near the breach and prepare the way for the work that we've got to do to fill that breach. That's about $7 million. That work has already started. So we were allowed to go ahead and front that work, and that's completely reimbursable as well. As we bid the embankment recovery, we're going to have barges in the canal, working the entire length of it to repair the scour along the toe of the slope. There'll be heavy equipment coming and dropping material off of the embankment. It's going to chew up what's on top, the path, and that path will be replaced as construction finishes. But expect other intermittent closures of Riverfront Park, pieces and parts as we work on this construction. All total about $150 million of investment going into recovering our historic canal. So, and I personally am delighted to be at this point. This is very real to me. I'd been a city employee 6 weeks whenever the flood happened. And so I remember walking along the embankment, and I had a phone call from someone from Nashville Municipal Sewage District. They had been through some flooding and working with FEMA. And he told me, I think it was 2 days after the breach, that expect the journey would take 10 years. And I didn't believe him. And here we are 10 years later, and we're still working. So here's a couple shots. I just wanted to give you an idea of what we're doing. This is drone footage. If we were standing on above Rapid Shelter, this is the canal, that's the river. You can see we've got barges in the canal, and a cofferdam has been built out in the river. And what we'll do is the contractor will pump that out and then place intake screens and start putting in the foundation for the new structure that will rise out of the river. So that intake will be out in the river where these barges and heavy equipment are. We've got piles being, they're auger cast concrete piles that are socketed about 5 feet into bedrock. So we're going to have a bridge structure that goes across and pipes coming back across that bridge, so we can get vehicular access out there to pull pumps if we need to, do major electrical work out on the intake structure itself out in the river. We can drive those vehicles back to the city side across the canal. The pipes will be across that bridge, and that structure will be there. It's designed for today's standards. Doesn't matter about flooding, doesn't matter about seismic events. It's designed to withstand any earthquake loads or flooding events that might happen. So if we should have some sort of catastrophic failure in the future of the canal system, we'll be down from a hydroelectric generating standpoint, but our water supply won't be impacted. So really, really excited about that, and some really neat construction to come. And this, if you're, this is a close-up, but if you were coming across Interstate 126 coming into town, you'll see that off to the right. That'll be the structure that'll be within that cofferdam. The cofferdam will be removed. And we've designed it to try to honor some of the
That's as
historical.
you come across 26.
Coming into town, yes, sir. If you look over to your right, you can see the cofferdam now. That's what you'll see in the future. And it's connected with that bridge that will span the canal and terminate over near where Rapid Shelter is. So we've tried to honor the history of all the structures that are at the canal plant and along the Riverfront Park with the architecture. So it will be an industrial service, but we've tried to make it as attractive as we could. So that's what's happening, and you're going to start seeing things rise out of the river in the coming months. A lot of folks haven't noticed the work that's happening because it's kind of down in a hole, and you really, the railroad trestle kind of hides the cofferdam right now, but you're going to start seeing it soon.
How long before we see water in the canal area by Adventure?
By Adventure, so that won't happen until we remove the stone dam, and that's after the breach has been repaired, after the scour along the toe of the slope has been repaired. So I think you're looking at late 27 for that. We're still, that project hasn't bid yet, but we've got to get those repairs made before we can raise the level. And then we'll start generating hydroelectric power again, and which is also really important.
I want to take the bill to Hoover Dam.
I can't imagine that it took this long, but I don't know how much federal funding was involved. So building it is going to be the easy part. I believe that. And this construction has gone really, really smoothly. We've got a really good contractor. It's moving along as it should and right along schedule. Agreeing on the scope of work, 54 months to do that. And it was worth every day a fight, though, because we would have had to pay a whole lot more had we not participated in that wrestling match. And then 54 months on top of that to get approval for the environmental assessment. That's 9 years right there of hard work, but frustrating.
So overall, when it's all said and done, for your involvement with this, probably about 15 years.
At
Almost
least
20
12,
years.
at least 12 years.
At least 12 years.
At least 12.
Long time.
I know.
What happens if the brick, because that's kind of up in the air, what's our alternative if that supplemental funding doesn't come
It's a
in?
great question, Dr. Bustles. We actually received word from EMD,
Which is,
I think it was Friday, South Carolina Emergency Management Division, that a strategy of let's go ahead and apply for what's called a Hazard Grant Mitigation Program, HMGP. The state has some dollars that are there. And if for some reason our brick funding doesn't come through, the HMGP funding is an opportunity for us. So we're going to go ahead and make application.
Not a guarantee.
No, sir, but the state feels very strongly that we would be a very good candidate, and they've got, I think, $149 million. So this was their idea to help us should the brick grant fall through. That we go ahead and put an application, this contingent on not getting brick funding. The issue is work that's already completed, they can't fund. And so we've got to figure out where the demarcation point is in construction, how much has been spent, and see if we can get a rapid approval. But this also somewhat forces FEMA's hand because you've got two federal buckets of dollars there. And I don't think they would give us a stamp of approval on one. You can't have both grants funding the project. So it's meant to kind of force the hand of really have the brick funds or not. Go ahead and extend the period of performance and give us the dollars. Beyond that, Dr. Bustles, it's borrowing a little more money. We're in the middle of this construction. We've got to finish this construction. This is too important not to do, but it would mean bonding, borrowing more money and then trying to get something on the tail end from a grant program or us paying for the investment ourselves. So hopefully that won't happen, and we're doing everything we can to make sure that doesn't happen. Any other questions?
None for me.
What's that? 5 years. Hoover Dam was built in 5 years.
5 years.
Oh, mercy.
all right, is there anything else that the committee has for discussion? Then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
I don't know if I want to second it. I'm enjoying this time together.
Look at his face.
So move.
I know, but I need a second.
Can I get a second?
Well, you didn't get a second. He died for lack. Talk about something else then.
All those in, we're adjourned.
Yes.
5 years.